I bet you are wondering why I am here. A steam locomotive, in its prime, sitting alone, away from the rest of the scrap. I haven't been here long, you see, and I am still hoping that I will be saved. I remember when it all began. My first day at work, my apple green livery. British Railways, picked out in cream on my tender. Unnamed, but an express passenger locomotive through and through. I remember receiving my nameplates, and how proud I was to join that rank of named engines, pulling named trains like the Flying Scotsman, the Fair Maid, the Yorkshire Pullman, and many more besides. Fast trains, freight trains, express trains, suburban trains, I've done them all, as the first of my class, and now it seems, one of the last still standing. And now, here I am, cold and alone. Well, what did you expect? It's the way of the world. It was always going to be this way. Alone at the end. My friends from Copley Hill, how I miss them. I remember the last time I saw them all together. So, none of us are actually allocated here anymore, Alan said finally. I'm allocated here, Geoffrey said, with a cough and a wheeze, but nobody took any notice of him. Well, you and I are King's Cross with Herbert, Sir Ralph said. Nigel, you're Stratford now, aren't you? Yes, that's right. I've only ever been on loan here, for the most part, Nigel said. Allocated twice here, I think, but no more. Well, then that settles it, Alan said, defeated. This is the end. What? No, no! Herbert's voice grew louder. Why are we all giving up? Why do you all not care? Because it's over, Herbert. They will be closing the shed, Nigel huffed. Herbert stared at him. But this is our home, Nigel. We all met after work, talked, joked, and stayed here together. We were rested, cold, watered, and looked after here. The Prairie Engine had tears forming in his eyes. We used to listen to one another's stories here. Surely that is worth fighting for. But it is over, Herbert, Alan said quietly. British Railways have made their decision. And we're not alone. There are steam sheds going all over the country, engines withdrawn and cut up. Then make the last few weeks a time to remember, Herbert sniffed, for all the good times we've had. Make the time we have left at Copley Hill the best yet. Our meeting place, our home, our family. The engines were silent. Then, you are right, Herbert. Let's make this a good few weeks before we all go elsewhere, Alan said, smiling amidst the tears. You soft old prairie, Nigel grunted. But then, I'll miss you, you know. Me too, Herbert said, his face no longer worried, and smiling with courage. This royal shed of steam, Sir Ralph said softly. The other engines looked at him. This red brick style, he said, and then he bellowed the rest. This earth of majesty, this shed of stars, this other Eden, demi-paradise, this meeting place built by railways for themselves, against defection to the motor car, this happy breed of train, this little world, this precious home set in the silvery rails, this blessed plot, this earth, this realm, this Copley! The other engines were amazed at Sir Ralph's speech. Sir Ralph? That's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard, Alan said, in admiration. You've been listening to that William Shakespeare again, Nigel laughed. I told you the standards were a soppy bunch. We'll do our best by our railway, Alan said, looking from one to another and smiling. For Copley Hill. For Copley Hill, the engines chorused. But what of my friend, the wanderer, Stephen? I don't want to not exist, Stephen said tearfully. Don't you understand? I don't want to not ever run again. I don't want to stop, end, finish, like this. The stationary boiler grunted. I don't know. Scrap has to be better than this. They warm me up and cool me down. I get sludge in my valves and rust seeping out of me. Stephen, I don't know what lies beyond the scrap line, but I can tell you for nout, it said, closing its tired eyes. Sometimes you just want the steam to stop flowing, the bearings to stop creaking, and the oil to stop dripping. But why? There's so much more to see and hear and think, Stephen cried out, infuriated. How can you sit there and be so prepared for the end? Weren't you, so long ago? Said a familiar voice. Stephen looked round, startled, the tears stopping in their tracks. You told us all it was coming. You knew, you were confident, some might say brave. Why the change of mind, old engine? Stephen realised with horror that Jerry, the Standard 4, sat next to him, shorn of tender, chimney-covered, and rusting quietly away in the siding. That is to say, Stephen mumbled, I don't know why I suddenly felt differently, but when I realised that, one by one, my brothers and sisters were falling to the torch. You wanted to carry on the line, Jerry said, smiling slightly before coughing. Understandable. No one wants to see their family line die out. Stephen said nothing. He merely looked down at his buffers. You are still a brave engine, Stephen. There is no shame in being afraid at the end. However, Jerry said, glancing towards the sheds, this is not the end for you. Stephen looked up. It isn't? You are being stored serviceable. You'll be going back to the shed soon enough, Jerry continued, and I will be returning to the works for repair. This isn't the end for you, and I, just yet, Stephen. Stephen beamed. The relief and happiness overwhelmed him. But heed my words, Stephen, Jerry said carefully. Endless life is not all it is cracked up to be. Think of the drivers, the firemen, cleaners and guards who leave us behind. Men and women who put their heart and souls into keeping us going, gone into the annals of time. Treasure your time on these rails, Stephen, for it can be taken away from you in an instant. Of course, Stephen was lucky. And in some respects, so am I. Because I got one last chance to see my friends and work an express passenger train once more.